What if the next global pandemic didn't just make people sick, but erase their humanity entirely? Imagine a virus so advanced, it hijacks the brain, silences emotion, and turns its host into a walking shell, moving, breathing, but no longer truly alive. This isn't Hollywood fiction. Scientists have already discovered parasites in nature, real ones, that control their host's behavior. And certain viruses already alter brain chemistry in ways we barely understand. So what if the right mutation, or the wrong experiment, triggered something unstoppable? A chain reaction of infection, chaos, collapse. Could it really happen? Could science accidentally open the door to a real-life zombie outbreak? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear might change how you see the world. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go. In today's world, we often feel invincible. Medicine is more advanced than ever. Gene editing, mRNA vaccines, real-time virus tracking, humanity stands at the peak of biological control. Hospitals scan DNA in minutes. Artificial intelligence helps diagnose diseases before symptoms even appear. We've mapped the human brain, almost. And yet, for all our knowledge, for all our precision, nature still holds the upper hand. Viruses mutate faster than we can respond. Bacteria evolve resistance to our strongest antibiotics. And deep inside ecosystems we rarely think about, in tropical forests, remote caves, and decaying animal remains, life forms exist that modern science barely understands. Today, a single infected person can step off a plane and be on the other side of the world within 12 hours. One cough, one droplet, that's all it takes. We've seen it happen. COVID-19 was a wake-up call, but even that, with all its devastation, only scratched the surface of what's possible. The question we face now isn't just, can a pandemic happen again? It's, what if the next one doesn't just make us sick, but changes who we are? What if a virus could target the brain, suppress emotion, erase memory, hijack instinct, turn us into something less than human, but still dangerously alive? The science is there. The possibilities are real. And as our technologies advance faster than our ethics, some scientists warn, the line between biology and horror is thinner than ever before. This is the world we live in. Advanced, fragile, and far more vulnerable than we like to admit. It didn't begin with zombies, it began with insects. Tiny, ordinary insects, manipulated by parasites that rewrote their behavior completely. One of the most studied? Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, a fungus that infects ants, crawls into their brains, and makes them climb to a high leaf, clamp their jaws down, and wait to die. Once the ant is dead, the fungus bursts from its skull, ready to infect the next. Nature is filled with these hidden horrors. Parasites that control crickets, wasps that enslave spiders, even viruses that drive mammals into suicidal behavior. And scientists began to wonder, could something like this ever affect humans? The truth is, it already has. Rabies is a virus that spreads through saliva and attacks the brain, causing aggression, confusion, and loss of identity. There's no cure once symptoms start. Another example, toxoplasmosis, a parasite carried by cats, which may subtly alter human behavior, increasing risk-taking and impulsiveness. These aren't science fiction. They're real. And now, with advances in neurobiology and synthetic virology, researchers have the ability to engineer viruses with targeted effects on brain function. In controlled labs, scientists have already modified viruses to deliver genetic material directly into the human brain for therapy, but the potential goes both ways. What happens when that research slips into the wrong hands, or takes one wrong turn? The idea of a virus that could disrupt emotion, erase memory, or strip away identity is no longer impossible. One genetic tweak, one unstable carrier, and the chain begins. Not with screams, not with explosions, but with silence, a stranger acting a little off, a neighbor who forgets your name, then forgets their own. The danger isn't that they die. It's that they don't. Not fully. Not anymore. Now, imagine this. A virus with a 48-hour incubation period, spreading silently before any symptoms appear. It doesn't cause fever or coughing. Instead, it targets the limbic system, the part of the brain that controls emotion, memory, and survival instincts. At first, the infected seem distracted, withdrawn, maybe a little confused. Then aggression, emotional detachment, a blank stare that never quite meets your eyes. Sounds impossible? Not to epidemiologists. In 2019, the World Health Organization released a watch list of Disease X, an unknown pathogen with pandemic potential, capable of global spread with no existing treatment. Scientists warn, it's not a matter of if, but when. And with urban populations growing denser each year, just one mutation, one leak, one infected traveler is enough. Look at global air traffic maps. Within 36 hours, any virus can reach every major continent. In 2020, over 100 million people boarded flights from just 5 international hubs. That's how fast it moves. And here's the twist. This hypothetical virus wouldn't need to kill. It just needs to spread. That's what makes it so dangerous. No one panics at first. No hospitals overwhelmed. No emergency declared. Just people changing. Subtle shifts in behavior. A growing numbness. Until communities collapse, not from death, but from the breakdown of connection, of trust, of thought. You won't see it coming in the news. You'll notice it when your coworker starts forgetting familiar tasks, when a loved one laughs at pain, when a stranger on the subway stares for just a little too long. By then, it's already too late, because the virus isn't outside anymore. It's in your town, in your home, maybe even in you. Here's what most people don't realize. A virus doesn't need to destroy the body to destroy a person. What if the real horror isn't death, but a mind overwritten while the body keeps going? Scientists now know the brain can be reprogrammed, not just chemically, but electrically. Tiny pulses can trigger aggression, fear, even blind obedience. In lab tests, researchers have used viral vectors to deliver new instructions directly into brain cells, switching genes on and off like a light. This is how gene therapy works. But what if something went wrong? Or worse, what if someone meant it to? Now, imagine a virus engineered to target specific neural pathways, suppressing empathy, dulling memory, enhancing reflexive behavior. What's left? A human body, stripped of identity. A vessel that still walks, breathes, reacts, but doesn't feel. This isn't fiction. In 2022, a controversial DARPA-funded study explored neuromodulation through viral proteins, hoping to treat trauma in soldiers. But ethics boards raised a terrifying concern. What if this tech could be weaponized? What if it didn't just heal, but controlled? Some scientists argue it's impossible. Others whisper that the groundwork is already in place. Now, combine that with an airborne delivery system or a fast-spreading mutation. The result? A pandemic of minds, not bodies. And here's the twist. You wouldn't know who's infected because they don't look sick. They look normal until they don't. Until the moment they forget your name. Until they follow you home without blinking. Could the next great threat to humanity be invisible, not to the eyes, but to the soul? And if we lose what makes us human, are we even worth saving? Today, we stand at the crossroads of unprecedented scientific breakthroughs. In the past decade alone, advancements in gene editing, brain-machine interfaces, and viral research have brought us closer to understanding the human mind than ever before. The technology that once seemed like science fiction is now within reach. CRISPR, for instance, allows us to cut, edit, and rewrite DNA with a precision that was unthinkable just a few years ago. Scientists are now experimenting with CRISPR to treat genetic disorders, but they're also using it to modify the brain's neural pathways, to unlock new potentials, or to manipulate behaviors. But what happens when these technologies, designed to heal, are turned toward darker purposes? In the world of neuroscience, researchers have recently unveiled something called optogenetics, a technique that uses light to control neurons inside the brain. In controlled experiments, this technology can literally switch behaviors on and off, creating emotional responses or suppressing memories by triggering light-sensitive proteins in the brain. Imagine a virus that could deliver this technology into your brain, changing how you think, how you feel, or even erasing parts of who you are. Even more chilling, neural interfaces, the same technology used to help paralyzed patients move again, are being refined to the point where they could one day be used to control thoughts and actions remotely. And it's not just the private sector pushing these boundaries. Governments are investing millions into neurobiology research, seeking to understand and potentially weaponize the brain. In laboratories across the globe, scientists are now exploring the possibility of creating viruses that can carry genetic instructions straight to our neurons. It's a fine line between progress and peril, and we're getting closer every day to crossing it. As we advance, the line between progress and peril becomes more blurred. Some scientists argue that these technologies could be the key to solving some of humanity's deepest challenges. Gene editing could eliminate hereditary diseases, brain manipulation could unlock new cognitive abilities, and viral treatments might cure mental disorders. In theory, we could create a world where suffering from genetic disorders or mental illnesses becomes a thing of the past. But here's the problem. For every breakthrough, there's a dark side, a hidden cost. What happens when the same tools that promise to heal also have the power to harm? If a virus can be engineered to rewrite the human brain, what's stopping it from being used to erase memories, control actions, or suppress emotions? Could we even recognize ourselves if we lost the very essence of what makes us human? That's the question posed by many critics of these emerging technologies. They warn that the more we learn about the brain, the more we risk losing control over it. In fact, some experts believe that once we start manipulating the brain's wiring, even for well-meaning purposes, we might trigger irreversible changes. Imagine a virus that's meant to cure depression, but ends up triggering apathy in millions. Or a brain-modifying drug that enhances intelligence, but inadvertently erases empathy. There's a chilling thought. What if our quest for a better world, one built on perfect science, leads us to create a new class of human beings, ones who are stripped of the emotional depth that makes us truly alive? Theories abound. Some argue that humanity could evolve beyond its current state. Others believe we are playing with fire, a fire that could burn down everything we hold dear. The question isn't if progress will come. It's whether we can live with the cost. The world has already begun to change in ways we don't fully understand. The first signs of this shift appeared quietly, almost unnoticed, like ripples in a pond. As new technologies gained momentum, so did their unintended consequences. In labs around the world, progress was celebrated: gene editing, brain control, mind-altering viruses. Yet, once unleashed, the consequences were no longer in our hands. The virus, once intended for therapeutic purposes, began to evolve. What started as a medical breakthrough morphed into a tool for domination. Those who were exposed first, the unsuspecting, the vulnerable, didn't die. They didn't even appear sick. But they changed. They no longer recognized themselves. The virus stripped away the essence of what made them human. As they wandered through cities, in search of their former selves, the infection spread. And so did the eerie shift in power. The world watched as entire communities descended into chaos, their foundations unraveling from within. Governments scrambled to contain the damage. But the real problem wasn't the infection itself. It was what followed. A new species emerged from the chaos. Not zombies, but something worse. Something that could think, adapt, and evolve faster than humanity ever could. These new beings, created by the virus, began to dominate the world, not through violence, but through a subtle, creeping influence. They outlasted us. They understood us better than we understood ourselves. The world that humans once ruled? It was slipping from our grasp, piece by piece. And what followed was the most terrifying realization of all. Those who had created the virus were the very ones who had unwittingly doomed themselves. Progress had turned into our greatest threat, and the future, now ruled by the very beings we created, was uncertain, controlled by forces beyond our comprehension. As we stand at the crossroads of human advancement, we're confronted with an unsettling question. How far are we willing to go in the name of progress? Every step forward we take, every breakthrough we achieve, brings us closer to unlocking the true potential of our species. But with each new discovery, we inch closer to a precipice, one that threatens to consume the very essence of what it means to be human. The virus, once a tool for healing, became a weapon of transformation. And now, the world watches as the line between human and something else begins to blur. The future is no longer ours to control. The beings that evolved from the chaos, born from our own attempts to perfect nature, are rewriting the rules of survival. So, what path remains? Do we accept the consequences of our actions, surrendering to the inevitable evolution of a new species? Or do we fight to reclaim what we've lost, halting the tide of progress before it's too late? The dilemma is clear: evolve or perish. It's not just a question of survival, but of identity. If humanity chooses to evolve, to embrace these new technologies, to rewrite the very fabric of our biology, what will we become? Will we still be human? Or will we lose ourselves in the pursuit of perfection, becoming something that once would have been unrecognizable? And if we choose to stop, to abandon the pursuit of this new world, are we condemning ourselves to stagnation, to a future where we become obsolete? The choice is ours, but is there truly a right answer? As the world watches, humanity faces its greatest test: to evolve or to lose everything. So, now you know. You've heard the facts, the science, the theories, but let me ask you this. What if it's not just a story? What if what we're talking about here could happen, not tomorrow, but sometime soon? The technologies we've discussed, they're not hypothetical. They're already here. We're already tinkering with the edges of what it means to be human. The question is, do we really know what we're doing? Or are we too caught up in the thrill of discovery to realize the danger that lurks beneath? Think about it. One wrong move, one unregulated experiment, and we could be facing a future we can't control. A future where we no longer recognize ourselves. A future where we don't get to choose what happens to us. It's chosen for us by forces we don't fully understand. I'm not here to tell you what to think, but I am asking you to consider something. If you had the power to create a new world, would you? Or would you stop before it's too late? Because here's the truth, this isn't just about technology. It's about us. It's about our choices, our ethics, and whether we're willing to pay the price for our progress. So, as we wrap this up, I want you to take a moment to think. What if it happened to you? What if one day you looked around and the world wasn't the same? You didn't know who to trust. Or worse, you didn't recognize yourself. I don't know the answer, but I do know this. We're standing on the edge, and the decision is ours. So, what will you choose? Hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. What do you think? Are we ready for the future we've created?